Hey, what's up, guys? Gonna go out on the highway today and do some merging. So an easy way to practice merging on the highway is get the person in the passenger seat to do your shoulder check. Because there's a lot going on when you're merging. You're like bringing your speed up. The noise is starting to come up, your anxiety goes up, and then you have to do a shoulder check. At that kind of speed, with all that going on, the shoulder check can seem like a bit much. So the more you can get the person in the passenger seat to take care of the shoulder check, you can just focus on getting your speed up and getting on the highway safely. So what I do, I look left there, I see there's nothing there, gotta get that speed up. And I just let off once I'm close to 100. So here, if I did a lane change, like if I was to just go just right over like that, that's a little bit abrupt. A better way to do it would be like throw my right signal light on, hang out for a little bit, check the mirror and the shoulder, and then just drift over like this. So if I was to go over there and maybe I'm missing somebody in my blind spot, I'm going over so gradual that they have a chance to react, they have a chance to honk, and I have a chance to catch it too. You can totally change lanes on a curve, but you just want to remember, like, you've got a lot of G-force that's kind of pulling you to the outside, and then you're shoulder checking at the same time. So whenever I do like a lane change or a pass or something like that, I just like to do it on a straight stretch like this. This is nice and simple. I got a nice clear line of sight in my mirror to see like what's in that left lane. So as I do that right shoulder check, first thing I do is I look at the mirror, shoulder check, mirror, shoulder check. I've got my mirrors adjusted out, so I just barely see that rear door handle. So I'm seeing as much of my blind spot as I can in the mirrors. Here I've got some cars merging. What I'm gonna do, I wanna find a gap. So I'm hoping this truck speeds up. So what I did there, I found the gap between those vehicles, and now we're all just kind of accelerating together. This is Highway 103, so this is a little bit faster. Signal lights on nice and early, keeping an eye on the mirror and the shoulder. Going over really gradual, so if I was accidentally cutting somebody off, they got a chance to react. Left signal lights on, watching the mirror. You're a pretty big engine. And that's they call that a low boy. So anybody that they would let drive that truck has to be a really good driver. Usually the loads that's carrying is like millions of dollars, and if they mess up, it's gonna like shut the highway down kind of thing. See if I can show you how that truck works. So that must be the chase truck there. They're kind of working together. But you'll see the trailer on it. See how it's sitting a lot lower? Right in the center there. So that's so, if they had a tractor that was like super tall, what they could do is put it on there, and it's not sitting as high as it normally would on a regular trailer. That way it can get under the overpasses. That sign there is saying that you can't turn around in the median, so only emergency vehicles can turn around in a highway median. So this is a nice long acceleration lane. That's also what's good about being familiar with an area. I know this is a nice, easy acceleration lane to merge from. Got my signal light on nice and early. Everyone's got a heads up that I'm coming out. So I accelerated a little more there because I saw this person was going fast, and then traffic behind me was going the same speed, so I don't want to interrupt anyone. So I just kind of slipped out here. Now we're just all flowing. Never react suddenly to anything. Anything that I do at a high speed is going to be super exaggerated, super amplified. So if I just went like that right now with the steering wheel, that would be a lot more exaggerated than if I did it in a parking lot. Just going at a chill speed and went like that wouldn't be a thing in a parking lot, but on a highway, it would be a thing. So here what I'm doing is I'm just gradually building myself up to highway speed, watching the speed of traffic out there. I like to throw my signal light on nice and early so everybody around me knows what I'm thinking. Now I'm out in the highway area, so I'm up to the flow of traffic, watching my driver's side mirror. I know I still got lots of time in this lane. Check my shoulder. So the person behind me that was in the lane that I wanted, they actually switched to my lane, and then I came out onto the highway. What I'll do in these interchange areas, I'll stay in this lane and just adjust my speed for these people merging. So that's exactly how you merge on the highway right there. So now I'm going to merge from an interchange where the acceleration lane is on a bit of a curve. So all I do as I'm coming out, I know I got lots of time, throw my left signal light on, let everybody know what I'm thinking, matching my speed to traffic, but watching my driver's side mirror. So now all I have to do, double check my blind spot. I make sure when I check my blind spot that I'm just turning my head and not pulling the wheel with it. Sometimes when people shoulder check, they'll kind of turn their shoulders and then they'll end up pulling the steering wheel in that direction. Down here I'm going to exit into a cloverleaf interchange. So I got my right signal light on, keeping my speed up. Once I'm all the way in the lane, that's where I come onto the brakes. The recommended ramp speed is 40 kilometers an hour. So I'm just aware as I'm coming in, 40 kilometers an hour is like the most ideal speed that the engineers calculated. If I come in at 45 or so, that's a good speed. Now I'm going to merge on the highway again from the same interchange, so the acceleration lane is going to be pretty short. This interchange here, they recently cut the trees out from the center of it. So as I'm coming out here, before I'm even in the acceleration lane, I can get a glance at the highway just to see how much traffic is there. Not a whole lot of traffic. So first things first, I got to get my speed up. Signal light's on right away. Watching my mirror, I'm thinking it looks good. So I just double check my shoulder. Might as well check it again. Go over nice and gradual. And we're up to the flow of the highway. The way that I stay centered in the lane is I look a little bit further ahead, kind of up to where the SUV is up there ahead of me. And then my peripheral vision is picking up these lines in the guardrail and the shoulder of the road and everything. And then that's helping me to stay centered in the lane. Then back here what I'm doing is I'm watching who's merging on the highway. So it looks like that black SUV is going to make it out perfectly in front of me. So I'm going to throw my signal light on, let them know I'm planning on exiting. And then they know that their merge is going to be a little bit easier if they decide to merge on the highway. Now the exit that I'm going into down here is on a curve. So what I do as I'm going in, I'm already established in my lane, so I don't need to signal to exit. If the weather was really bad, I would signal just so everybody knows for sure I'm not going to randomly pull back out on the highway. Then they're recommending 70 kilometers an hour for this exit lane. A lot of times at rush hour, this lane can be backed way up. So sometimes you might come around the curve on an exit lane and then suddenly traffic is stopped. So you always want to be prepared to stop. Let's get my speed up again. Left signal light's on. Now I got lots of space ahead of me. Keeping an eye on my driver's side mirror. Over nice and gradual. And we didn't break the flow. I'm thinking these people want to merge, so I'm going to throw my right signal light on, try to slip in between these two. And I'm familiar with this interchange, so I know once I get around the corner here, I'm not going to have a whole lot of time to merge. So back here, I just had a glance. I can see there's not a whole lot of traffic there. Still getting that speed up. Signal light's on. Watching the mirror, I'm thinking I'm good. Quick shoulder check. Go over nice and gradual. What will happen if you come out too slowly in the merge lane, you're gonna notice people don't make adjustments for you as much as they would if you came out with your speed up. So I guarantee you 99.9% of the time, when you come out with your speed up at the flow of traffic, people are gonna make adjustments to let you on, and you'll get on the highway a lot easier than if you're going too slow. Here I've got a nice long acceleration lane, signal lights on early, and my speed up to the flow of traffic. The mirror looks good, but I just gotta double check my blind spot over my shoulder. Nobody's there, so I go over gradually, and we still got flow. Now I'm going through a construction zone, so the speed limit here is 80 kilometers an hour. Sometimes what can happen is there could be a lot going on in this area if the work was still happening right now, so it can be distracting. So if that ever happens, just look straight down the center of your lane and ignore everything that's happening around you. That's the same thing you do if you're driving on the highway and then there's like a big tractor trailer passing you or something. If it makes you nervous, just ignore it and look straight down the center of your lane. The left lane or passing lane should always be going faster than the right lane. So here, if I was doing 110 and somebody was like right beside me at 110, I would just let off a little bit so that they could get ahead of me and then get back into the lane if they needed to. So this is another one that I'm familiar with, so I'm pretty confident with merging onto it. Signal lights on right away, getting my speed up. Making sure the person in front of me is getting their speed up too. Watching my mirror, check my shoulder, muzzle check it again, and then go over gradually. On the right side of this highway, they have a rumble strip. So that's where they take a machine and they cut a whole bunch of grooves into the highway so that when you're driving along, if you were to like not pay attention for a sec or doze off and you drift over toward the shoulder, you're gonna feel a vibration and hear a noise in the car that will kind of like wake you up and remind you to get back into your lane. So let's just go over and drift onto it here now. So going over, so it just makes that noise and then you drift back onto the highway. It's good to get used to like what those feel like and what they sound like, just so if you ever do hit it, it's not going to startle you and you might like accidentally cut the wheel hard or something like that. Then I've got a couple of curves here, so I exit the highway at full speed, and then what I do is I start braking back here before I get into the curve with too much speed. So if you ever go into a curve with too much speed, there's really not a whole lot you can do once you're in it, because if you hit the brakes or you steer too hard, you're going to break the traction of the tires and end up sliding off the road. Signal lights on. Watching the mirror, it looks alright. Shoulder's looking good, so I just keep that speed going up. That sign there is telling me that this bridge will freeze before the road does. So all bridges will do that, and it's just because they don't have any ground underneath them to insulate them, so the cold air can get under them and freeze them up a lot easier. The highway is all about flow. One of the most difficult things for new drivers is trying to maintain the same speed on the highway. But all I'm doing here, my heel is braced against the floor, and I'm just like really, really gently adjusting the accelerator pedal. So right now I'm at 100, at 101. Now I'm also thinking I'm coming up to a hill. I'm gonna go downhill, so there's a chance I might gain some speed. But just barely adjust it to let off a little bit. It can be frustrating at first, but you'll get the hang of it as you practice. Those are the highway scales there on the right. When the big trucks go out of town and they've got cargo or some kind of weight on, they weigh so much that they have to go in here, and the people in there will weigh the trucks to make sure that they don't weigh too much for the highway, because otherwise they would ruin the highway. Got a tow truck coming out here, but I know he's not going to merge yet. If I thought he was going to merge, I would switch oncoming traffic. So if I was driving along here and maybe I see a pothole, and I'm like, oh yeah, I can make an adjustment for it. The other thing I have to consider is there's a vehicle beside me. So if I was to just abruptly turn the wheel to the left and shift over in my lane, not that I'm leaving my lane or anything, but I shift over, those vehicles beside me, they might get scared and accidentally overreact and cut the wheel and go out of their lane. But just keep that in mind, that can scare people. Good to look a little bit further ahead too, just in case there was like an accident up here and there's emergency vehicles stopped or a construction zone and traffic is stopped. I'd have more of a heads up back here, then I could start reducing my speed. You probably remember in the last highway video I did, I was talking about highway hypnosis, but I'll just explain it again. So sometimes you'll be driving along. This would be like a perfect situation where it could happen. It's just nice and quiet. There's not much going on the highway. The highway is pretty easy to drive on. And then you can hear that consistent droning sound of the tires. So it's really relaxing. So what can happen after a while, you got the guardrails going by, the signs, the lines, and all of that. That can kind of hypnotize you. So when that happens, you're completely safe in that state, but it's just really trippy because a lot of times you'll get to your destination and you won't remember the drive, so you won't even remember how you got there. So the trick to avoiding that, keep the music up a little bit, nothing too crazy. You can chew gum. Anything that keeps your motor skills going is going to help you avoid that. So I can like chew gum, adjust my AC, keeping my eyes on the road, checking the sides. You can even have a glance around here and there. And whenever you look around when you're driving, like if I saw something cool over there, I wouldn't want to just sit here and stare like this, because in that split second that I'm going like that, this vehicle might do something crazy and jam the brakes on or something. But if you do see something cool, nothing wrong with glancing around to have a look at it. So I just glance over, see what I need to see, and then I come back to the center. Sometimes you'll see turnarounds in these medians, but those are only for emergency responders. So if I needed to turn around and I'm on this highway, maybe I missed my exit or something, I would have to go up to the next exit and get myself turned around and then come back down. I couldn't legally turn around through that median. I'm really vigilant about deer in this area because I almost hit one on my motorcycle one time. I was riding along like this. It was a nice, beautiful day, so I wasn't feeling quite as vigilant. So I'm looking a little bit further ahead and I'm like, man, this is going to be a nice, fun day, nice, fun ride. And then suddenly at the last second, right where that truck is, there's a deer walking out. And I didn't have anything that I could do. I couldn't react to it suddenly or anything. And I was like, man, this might be bad. And at the last second, the deer walked out to the broken line, waited for me to pass, and I looked in my mirror, and then it continued crossing the highway. So I'm always extra vigilant about the deer on Highway 102 now. But it's good to be vigilant about them in any area that you're in, especially in highway areas. the same reaction that you do. So if you hydroplane here, you just let off the accelerator, don't hit the brakes, don't do anything sudden with the steering wheel. That's the exact same thing that you do with deer. And of course with moose, they're a whole different animal. You just do what you gotta do to avoid them. Sometimes people hold the steering wheel like this, or they hold it like that. The thing to keep in mind is you'll end up drifting from your lane at some point if you hold the steering wheel like that. Same thing if I was holding the steering wheel like this. After a while, at some point, I will end up drifting over to the left. But when I've got my hands in a symmetrical position at the center of the wheel or toward the top, then I'm always in the best position to react to something, and that's the easiest way to keep the car going in a straight line. Now I'm going into a cloverleaf interchange that has really sharp turns. One of my students, her and her boyfriend, rode their car off in one of these curves in this interchange. They weren't familiar with the area, they came in with too much speed, and it was at nighttime, and they lost control, went into the guardrail, but nobody was hurt or anything. Trick I do with my sun visor, instead of putting it all the way down like that, what I like to do is just put it down till it's barely blocking that sun. Then I'm still maintaining a little bit more vision out of the windshield. This is a good example here of a set of roundabouts that I'm not familiar with. So as I go in, I just take my time and figure them out. If I end up going into the wrong lane, I'll just go around and then come back, go through the other roundabout, circle around again, and keep going around until I figure it out. Those signs there really tripped me out. I thought I was going the wrong way, but that would be if I was going out in that lane. But you can see these are all the things that will happen if you're not familiar with an area. I gotta get my speed up to the speed of the highway traffic. Since the pavement is dry, I could safely use cruise control. I wouldn't want to use cruise control in the rain or the snow or anything, but on a day like today, I could totally use cruise control. Personally, I prefer to never ever use it because that's giving me something else to concentrate on. The more things that I delegate for the car to take care of, the less things that I have to think about, then the more likely I am to get hypnotized. But if you prefer to use it, it does help you stay at the speed limit a lot easier. The way that the move over law works, if I was driving along here and then I saw, say, a tow truck, ambulance, fire truck, or police car with its flashing lights on, what I would do is slow down to 60 kilometers an hour and then change lanes if I can safely. But if I couldn't change lanes safely, what I would do is just slow down in this lane, maybe even slow down to like 55 instead of 60. It's also important not to stare at what they're doing. You're always going to end up going in the direction that you're looking. So if I look over there and I see something and I'm really concentrating on it, I'm naturally going to drive toward that direction. But like I was saying before, you can glance really quickly at things, but then just bring your eyes right back to the center of your lane. And when you slow down and pass by them safely, that allows them to save people's lives and help people on the side of the road. So if you ever get a cyclist like this, what I'm going to do here is hang out back here. Now I've got a good line of sight. So now I can safely pass them. If I had a double yellow line there, I could still use a portion of that other lane. I had a nice clear line of sight and everything. I would use just a little bit of that other lane to allow that cyclist to have more space. That way I'm passing by them safely. If you're ever buying a vehicle, I recommend that you buy a vehicle that has controls that have tactile feedback. So here, every time I switch this knob, there's like a little click. So I don't have to pay any attention with my eyes to that knob. I can just focus on the road and then just adjust my AC if I need to. If you're using a touchscreen, then you actually have to take your eyes off of the road and place your finger in the exact position on the screen. So you would be kind of like going like that, and then your eyes aren't on the road and you're more likely to miss something ahead of you. There's my favorite sign in traffic. It's the checkered sign. So it's telling me this is a pretty sharp turn. Right now I have a little bit of what they call velocitation. So that just means I've been driving for a while. I was on the highway there for quite a bit at a high speed. Now I'm doing 60. I feel like I'm doing 30. But like every other time, I'm just looking down at the speedometer, and then that's how I stay at the speed limit. Got any video requests or anything like that, just throw them down in the comments and I'll make those videos for you when I get a chance. Thanks for watching.